Hi, your next 8 Caillou challenge is called Find Out Whether the Shape is a Cube. To find the volume, centimeters cubed of a cuboid, you use the formula volume equals length times width times height. But someone forgot to use proper record keeping, so we only have the volume and the length of a single side. It's up to you to find out whether the cuboid has equals sides. That is, it is a cube. Return true if the cuboid could have equal sides. Return false otherwise. Return false for invalid numbers too. If the volume or the side is less than or equal to 0. Note side will be an integer. That's interesting because it's listed as a double here, but we'll run with it. So this is a very good beginner level challenge. You don't need to know much. In fact, they even provided the formula for you to work with here. So why don't you go ahead and pause this one, bang it out, come on back with when you're ready and we'll go over it. It'll be a quick solution and we'll talk a little bit about some relevant topics. So to determine this, whether we're dealing with a cube, right? A cube implies that all sides are the same length, right? And so if we want to check if the volume corresponds to a cube with the 3 sides of this provided length, then we can basically check if this side cubed, right? Because side, you could think of it like volume equals side times side times side, because with a cube, we know that the length, the width, and the height are an equal value. So I can just basically cube the side and check if it's equal to the volume. C# provides a handy way of doing this. Of course, you could just write out side times side times side. You know, you could see if that equals the volume. You could do it like this. In fact, maybe we'll do it once like this and then another way. This isn't quite done, but let's just go over it. Okay, so we hit a failure here. Should return true, and you could scroll down to your tests. In fact, let's make this easier on ourselves to diagnose. What do we say to do when you run into trouble? Well, have a print statement. And let's find out what is being passed in. I'm going to call volume vol, and I'll say side, side. And you'll notice I use console write line to print output to the screen. And then I use this $sign here at the beginning. All that does is it lets me use curly braces to inject variable values there, so it will print the value corresponding to volume and not just the text volume, right? I want to know what this value is, I don't want it to just print volume, and same thing for side. So you can use this $sign if you want to do that. So let's get a better idea of which test is failing. Okay, so yeah, you can see it choked on this last one where volume was 8 and side was -2. And of course, back in the instructions where they tell us we should return false for invalid numbers. Now, when I had done this, I found out I didn't even need to check the volume. I kind of just wrote it out quickly. So we could say side is greater than 0, and this double ampersand is a logical and. It means this condition combined with this condition. If they're both true, then it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. You can look up Boolean logic if you would like more information on that, or you can always request I do videos on a topic if you're stuck to, or a blog article on my website. So let's go ahead and see if this is an improvement. And it did get us through. Note again, I only did side. If you were following the instructions, you could also say side is greater than 0, and volume is greater than 0, and the sides cubed equal the volume. So I don't expect anything different here. But if you just wanted to write out like they gave in the instructions to check the volume as well, this might be better. And I wanted to do this to illustrate a point that it's easy to think your solution works when you test it on just a few inputs, but and their tests come up short. In fact, let's get rid of it again so I can show you what I saw earlier. I passed everything without even checking the volume. So it's all comes down to what kind of coverage you get, how many unit tests you write. And it's not that just writing tons of unit tests is the best. It's you want coverage in the sense that you get a wide range of values that you're checking. It's not just repeating the same kind of thing. So, you want positive numbers and negative numbers in this case. But you really want to think outside the box and think of any kind of oddball scenarios and cover all those with your testing. So, yeah, I'd recommend probably using the volume as well for a better solution. But let's get back to that thing that I want to show you in this beginner series about how the math library provides this POW function, short for power. It takes two values, two double values, and one is the sort of the base value that you want raised to a power, and the second parameter is the power that you want it raised to. You can look at the examples here if you like, but I think this is pretty straightforward. And then note it returns a double as well. And that will work here. So let's replace this. Instead of side times side times side, let's say math pow side 3, right? We want it cubed. And I think I can leave the 3 here, but technically it'll get converted to a double. Remember in the document page it said the second parameter was a double 2. But let's just check. Whenever you're in doubt and don't know how it's going to behave, just run it and see what you get. If it gives you an error or whatnot. No, it doesn't. So it still works. Me personally, my own taste, when something's a double, I like to explicitly make it a double. You can say that's nitpicking. That's fine. I won't argue with you. But I like to be explicit and pass items of the exact type that's specified. So should I add the volume back in? What do you think? Volume greater than 0 and this. And then, of course, we don't want that print statement. That's just to help us. But, in your production code, you're not going to put a bunch of print statements. It just slows things down. So I will probably submit mine like this. One last thing we should probably touch on. This is a beginner thing. Be very careful when you're comparing double values for equality, right? Double means double precision floating point numbers. So we have talked about integers, they're whole numbers, 1, 7, 37. With a double, you can have fractional parts of your number too. So you can have 2.75 or 13.673158 or anything that you can imagine. Of course, you can imagine there's limits. I can't do a billion decimal places with it. At some point, it gets too much. But this idea of equality again with doubles. So think about it. If you had a value 5.12345 and a second value, let's say the volume was 5.12346. Now, if you ask most people on the street, do they really care that they were off by that one, whatever that was, 100,000th place that I said? Most people are going to say no. If you're an engineer and something's incredibly precise, maybe you do care, but, and then how's the computer program going to interpret it? It's going to see two different values and say, well, I guess technically they're different, right? One was 0.12345, the other is 0.12346. They're not the same, so they're not equal. And you may want that to be considered equal. So there are some things you can do to address that, give a sort of range of acceptable deviation. But it's something to think about if you're getting quirky behavior where you think two double values should be equal and they're not. So beware if you're trying to compare that type for equality. Other than that, I think that should do it for this beginner level video. I'll go ahead and submit mine like this. They're going to make me run it again. Go ahead and grab those points. I don't know that there will be a lot to learn from looking at the other solutions, but in general, it's a good practice to scroll through here and learn from other people besides just me. Gives you good ideas the next time you come around to something, that's something else you can put in your tool belt, another way to solve problems. So go ahead and hit me up with questions and comments if you have them. I really appreciate the likes and subs. Otherwise, I'll see you in another video. Thank you.